Live. How's it going, guys?
Doing
Good. How
well.
are you?
You made the trek down to talk on Moto Monday.
Yes, we did.
So I'm going to just double check that everything's going good and up on Facebook and YouTube. Everyone who's watching, happy Moto Monday. We've made it to 92. What are we going to do for 100? Feel like we have to have like a real banger. Joe. Oh, I forgot Joe doesn't have a microphone. We don't get to have as much fun. We'll get you on for the after show. That's where it really counts. So, Jason and Whitney. First, I got one question. Okay. So, you guys have a... What's the proper term? It's basically a motorcycle training school, right? Okay.
Correct.
What's the official name of it?
Dirt bike safety training.
So, I'm wearing a Dirt First hat then. Can we explain the Dirt First? I didn't have a chance to ask this.
No problem. Dirt First is one of the curriculums that we partnered with Gary LaPlante from motoventures.com. And
Okay.
he created the Dirt First curriculum, which is one of the top curriculums in the United States right now.
So it's like an offshoot of the Moto Adventure?
That is correct.
Okay. I didn't get really a chance to ask that. I just put the hat on.
No worries.
Which, thank you, by the way.
No problem at all.
Okay. Right on. Well, so how about we start from the beginning? How'd you guys get into dirt bikes?
Wow.
This is I'm going.
This goes way back.
Beginning. We don't have to stay.
XR100.
1979 KX80.
Nice.
The first KX80, actually.
It was 1979.
1979. Dual suspension, 6 inches of travel.
So basically, did not handle well.
Not at all.
If we have time afterwards, I need to have you guys try out. I have a 1972 SL70.
Oh, nice.
That we
Perfect.
stuck a mod motor in, though.
Oh, my goodness.
So we quadrupled the horsepower. Twin shocker, that thing bounces all over the place. We
Same
named it-
suspension, same brakes, though, right?
Oh, yeah. Bone stock brakes, bone stock suspension. We named it Butt Wiggle. It's even on the seat because that rear end will dance.
Awesome.
Those twin shockers, man. Yeah. Anyways, I'm
It's
sorry.
like it's like working a pogo stick is really what it is.
Exactly. And I'm not the best pogo guy out there, so respect people go fast on them. But anyway, so on a couple of 79 bikes. Were you guys racers at first, or like how did you come from? Like my dad was kind into racing. That's how I got into it. He was actually a BMX racer who done with that kind of play road, and he's like, oh, my kid, I got him into that. What sparked it,
So I got started in this motorcycle passion. My dad rode motorcycles, never raced, and we picked up a brother and sister 2 years younger than me. All three of us shared the bike. We had rubber boots, open face helmet, never wore gloves. We would go to the dump to ride. It was very grassroots. Never got into racing. We just rode around the neighborhood, and just that's where I caught the passion. Jason had a little bit different growing path to where we are now. Go ahead.
My grandfather rode, which then passed down to my father, which then passed down to me. We had one biological brother that we kind of fought over the bike a little bit. He always used to win because he would always be hogging the bike. Of course,
Was he bigger?
he was bigger at the time. Yep. So, but unfortunately, I didn't get to ride it very much. My very first time of actually riding the bike by myself, I could only start the bike, get on it, go straight. And back then in '79, they had little off and on switches, not the kill buttons. So I switched the switch off, get off the bike, turn it around, and then start it up and go straight again. That's all I could do. So,
Hey, it could be worse, man. I wanted to give up and ride three-wheelers.
oh my goodness.
So,
Yeah.
So that's one of the things we say. Starting your kid out on an ATV or a three-wheeler is a bad idea because they get so comfortable riding, just sitting there and turning the throttle. Start them on a dirt bike, and then if they want to go to a quad later, that's fine.
so you guys saying that two wheels is better than four?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yes, all right.
Of course.
I'm glad you just went ahead and said it. All right.
Yes, absolutely.
So carry on.
Oh, no.
So did you guys Did you guys ever like give it up and like go do other things and come back? I hear a lot of stories of people who, yeah, it was fun for a while, and then there's just huge gap.
Yep.
Of just kind of doing other stuff, and then like, oh wait, that was really cool. We should go back to that.
Yep. I definitely did that. We had the XR100, and in high school, I pretty much quit riding. I didn't ride again until I was in college, and got a sport bike. You know, that's what you do in college. You get the sport bike that you have no business being on, and had a lot of fun with that.
Well, the chicks dig it, you know.
Of course, of course. I think that's in high school probably why I lost interest in dirt bikes too. School and all these other extracurricular activities. After college, got my first job. I got a DR 350, so that was my re-entry back into dirt bikes. And then from there, I rode a friend's KTM, and I was like, whoa, okay, I need to up my game. And then it was all over after that. It was like back into dirt bikes and adventure bikes and whatnot.
I was pretty off and on. I always was into BMX bikes. Unfortunately, my brother had put water in the gas tank, which blew the motor on that 79.
Wait, why?
Because he was tired of waiting for mom to go get the gas. So he thought, as a little guy, well, I'll just throw water in, it'll work.
It was liquid.
Okay. It was liquid. It will work here.
Okay, so we're talking pretty young then.
Oh, he was pretty young. Yeah,
Okay.
we were. The first time I got on that KX was I was 5 years old.
Okay, I was like, is this sabotage or
Yeah, something, and
Lack
when
of
that
knowledge.
bike sat for a while,
maybe lack of knowledge? Okay.
lack of knowledge. Yeah,
Okay.
Chalk it up to lack of knowledge.
Okay.
That bike sat for a while, so we didn't get a chance to ride it. And then my uncle came back from the Army and visited us one time, and he's like, "Hey, why is the bike sitting there?" Long story short, he took it from us, fixed it back up, and I started riding again. I was so into BMX at that time because the bike wasn't riding that once the bike was riding, I wanted to start trying to race because I was racing BMX. So in 89, back when you've got 12-inch travel on a KX80, I'm at SIR trying to race in the beginner class with a 79 KX80. So that it wasn't the funnest time. It was a mud race, and if you've ever raced it, the old SIR or Pacific Raceways now, the tire would sink in the mud, and you'd be pretty much done from there.
I never really raced it, but I'm more from this side of Washington.
Sure.
And we always joke that like you're gonna hate me, but anything past Riverdale is just rocks.
Yes, it
Once
is.
you start going north, anything past Riverdale it turns into rocks.
This is true.
Sadly, and rocks hurt.
Yes, I do.
You don't bounce very well.
Now, Monroe Arena Cross is a different story, and I missed that. I did get to do one, and then the what was it? Back in the day, Lanphier had RMC.
That's correct.
Yes, I did go up for a lot of RMC.
The indoor arena
The
cross
indoor
he
that
had.
was like
Yep.
part of the motorcycle shop, that would drag my butt all the way up there.
That's awesome.
But other than that, the outdoor tracks, I'm going to get so much hate for this, but they just never really interested me as much. Now I like to travel around and see stuff, but I haven't.
Taking a rock to the chest is never a fun deal.
Yeah, and it just never really interested me. Like, and I don't like traveling. Like Spokane is a lot of fun.
Everybody
It's a
hikes.
6.5 hour drive for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, is it that fun? Because that's over 12 hours of driving when
Yeah.
I have Washougal half hour away.
Yeah, it must be rough.
And then Mountain View 45 minutes away. And, PIR 20 minutes away. Clark County Arena Cross is, by the way, a couple miles down the road from here.
Awesome.
Perfect.
So I got a little spoiled. Anyways,
Very nice.
though, getting sidetracked. But that's one track that I feel bad. Like I never really hit. I hear all these stories about SIR and a couple of the other tracks. One of the ones that like went away up there was that outdoor like Monroe area.
Yeah, that was MXGP.
Thank you. Yes,
Yep.
MXGP.
Yeah, that was owned by Gary Strode and Pasha Thomas. I actually was involved with that for quite a while on the kind of the support team as we were going through the legalities of it, and then it just got to a point where it made it all the way to Supreme Court. Snohomish County had approved it, and once it got to Supreme Court, there was just a small legal logistic problem with where the one corner of the property was, and it was kind of a dead issue from there. So it was unfortunate.
That is a sad deal.
Yeah.
Sad deal.
It was real good for the community, and it definitely bring revenues to the community, bring families together, and that's what I really love about this sport is the family atmosphere about it.
Oh yeah, a lot of people outside of motocross don't really think of it as a family sport, but it totally is.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is. It's pretty tight knit. I know a little crazy at times, but it's an adrenaline packed sport. But it's totally a family sport. Like any track you go to, I mean, you're gonna see everyone from the dad, the mom, and the kids all the way down. They're all racing together, and then people are all hanging out together. It's not like going like pee-wee baseball or football or anything where you all go watch the kid do his thing or maybe sit on the bench. No, everyone is involved.
Very involved.
And I think that's one of the things that makes it unique.
True.
And also way more fun,
Yeah.
way more fun. So jumping forward, and yes, I am ADD, by the way. I go all over. I have not talked about Flat Earth yet, though, Joe. We might get into that on the after show, but let's jump forward. Do you guys still ride now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And
As your sign says, it's an obsession for sure.
So, yeah, I love that quote. Everyone makes fun of my Conor McGregor banner, but I like that quote. It's obsession, and I don't know, most of the things I like, I think it's fine having an obsession. That's how you get good at them, and as long as it's being obsessed with something healthy. I think motocross can hurt you. As we were talking earlier, you got a pretty nasty scar.
Yeah.
I'm sure a few injuries.
Well, that's my pinky. That was due to a car coming towards me, turned left in front of me when I was in college, was commuting on a motorcycle, turned left in front of me, and I nailed the brakes and ended up clipping the rear bumper and sent me spinning off. And my ring finger was peeled back like a banana and lost my pinky down to that first knuckle.
Oh,
So that was a wake-up call. Cars do not see motorcyclists on the road.
that is sad. That's why stay in dirt. As I have a
Yep.
street bike sitting out there, but
Yeah.
dirt. I think dirt's safer.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's
There's
actually,
no cars to dodge or
there's no-
semis,
There's-
Yes.
and rarely deer.
Rarely.
Sometimes, if you go to Burnt Ridge, there's sometimes deer.
Oh, yeah.
but
Sure.
for the most part, we don't have deer. Yeah, no, I think for the most part, though, I mean, it's healthy. It's a family sport. I don't get why you wouldn't want to do it, and it's good for you. You have to at least somewhat stay in shape. If you
Oh,
want
it's
to
a
get
good workout.
at it.
It's a great workout.
Oh yeah, and you keep doing it, it'll get you in shape. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, being 44, I had we talked about the injury on November 17th of last year. I went down, unfortunately, at Riverdale. 5 broken ribs, 2 compression fractures, and I had the spinal cartilage was going through the portion of my CSF sac where it was cutting off circulation in my right leg and my bathroom functions. And so going into surgery and having that removed, I had to have a triple laminectomy done where they basically take the shark fin off the back of the vertebrae, and I had to have 3 of those removed. So the doctor said, I'm making amazing progress. Here I am. It's the end of April, and I've been approved to get back on the bike and ride. And, never been happier, once you go through something like that.
So just 2 weeks ago, we were down in Anza, California at Moto Ventures and entered the El Trial de España. We were on trials bikes. That I think was your first competition back.
It was, yeah.
So
You're trials bikes.
So that's a whole new genre for us. We're expanding our repertoire with trials bikes. And every movement you make on a trials bike, the bike wants to do something. It's 150 pounds, 250 cc, 2-stroke, and it's really opening our eyes to a whole nother avenue on 2 wheels.
I've only played around on a trials bike a little bit, but I would suggest anyone who really wants to train, especially off road,
Yep.
go ride one for a while.
Absolutely.
Like, it teaches you so much about balance and about finesse, and I think it's really good to cross train. I think motocrossers should go do some off road races.
That's what we're encouraging. Yep.
So you guys would agree with me? All right,
Absolutely,
not everyone
100%.
agrees.
Yep.
I think a little cross training is actually really good. Teaches you other aspects and control over the bike.
Control, staying centered, pressure on the foot pegs, your body. You got 3 axes of movement on a motorcycle: forward, backward, up and down, and left and right. And every time you move in one of those directions on a trials bike, it's wanting to know what you want it to do.
Yes.
And in motocross, the golden rule is if in doubt, throttle it out, right? We feel that the challenge with that is that you get too used to, or you end up using the throttle as a crutch by using the gyro effects of the motorcycle, the front wheel, the back wheel, and the crank inside the motor to stabilize the motorcycle versus the balance points that are really key, especially when you get to the higher levels of competition.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of people who just, throttle out.
This is
Oh, yeah.
true.
Motto.
Yep. And in trials, that can really get you in trouble when
Yeah.
you've got so much traction on these trials bikes.
Those suckers are responsive.
It'll just
Very.
climb a wall. It'll climb a wall, and I mean to the point where it's like pulling it out of your hands because you're not ready for it. And
Yeah. I have not done enough, but I would suggest to a lot of people, go ride those. It'll definitely show you a few things.
one of our things we like to say: if you want to get better on your adventure bike, step down a size and get on a dirt bike. You want to get better on your dirt bike, step down a size and get on a trials bike.
Absolutely.
You hear that, Joe? Everyone should ride pit bikes.
There we go.
Well, there is some truth to that too. Riding a pit bike and gaining that confidence of how well you ride that will transfer to the bigger bikes. Absolutely.
It will give you a really weird riding style. Like this got brought up to me, and it all made sense actually in the last episode. That I've ridden, I think, pit bikes more than big bikes.
Mm-hmm.
It's now translated at my riding. Like I have the world's ugliest scrub.
Okay.
But I was like, someone's like, well, yeah, it's a pit bike scrub. Oh yeah, or a BMX racing scrub.
Sure.
That
That's
it's
funny.
like a pump thing. Like it's because I pit bike too much.
You're
Now I-
muscling it.
You're monoing it.
it's like this back and forth thing,
Gotcha.
and I really throw my weight forward on the lip, and then let it just kind of suck in and then lean back, kind of thing. I'm like, oh yeah, that's because I pit bike too much. But I will say the two things, at least if you go out, especially like an XR100 or something, try to. The most fun in the world, the most fun thing, I don't know if you guys have done this, but go take an XR100 and sign up for an hour and a half GP in like the C class and race against full size. I actually won a Riverdale race in the 200C class on that thing because you get your momentum going and you can just dice through things. Sure, it's only got 5.5 horsepower, so make sure there's not a ton of straightaways. Enduro cross sections, suddenly your bike fits between the logs. And if need be, you can lift it.
Yeah.
But you learn how to keep your momentum up. For one, because
Absolutely.
momentum's
Absolutely.
everything, and you learn how to get aggressive because like you have to go fast on
Yeah,
XR100.
one of those.
Yep.
So other than that, you can't. Honestly, there's a lot of bad habits probably from riding them, but those I think, probably pretty good things because you have to.
Sure.
Like you have to learn momentum, carry your speed. You can't just like do this frantic brake thing, drop the clutch and go.
Right.
You're done. You know, an XR100, you have to, lug, and we're getting moving again. So, which I'm talking to guys who teach other riders all the time. Let's go into what you guys are doing here and what you guys got going on. You guys got, I don't even know what to call it. Like, I can't call it motocross training. You guys, because you're saying you do an off-road. What do you call it?
So we named it dirt bike safety training for a reason, because we do a number of different training methods through off-road training, including our continuing education for street riders. The examples we use for that are Valentino Rossi, arguably one of the best street riders in the world. Most people, they're shocked to find out he doesn't train on the street. He trains off-road. And so being able to help a street rider understand that in emergency evasive situations that dirt training is going to help their skills, there's nobody that can argue that, because across the board, all the experts say, if you're going to learn to ride, learn dirt first.
Interesting.
Which is where the dirt first name came from Gary LaPlante with Moto Ventures.
Okay.
So we break it down. We teach beginner riders. We teach weekend warriors. We teach folks that are looking for higher level competition. And usually we try to use our core, which is our level 2, to see where they're at body position wise before we take them to an enduro cross or an enduro portion of their competition, or get right into motocross with that particular body position, because we want to see what we have to work with.
Gotcha. So you work with people on, so you call it safety, but it's about improving their ability on a motorcycle.
Yes.
So primarily off-road, or is it off-road moto? Like, what's the span here? I mean, is it just a little bit of everything, or like how many different genres of two wheels we working with here?
So we offer about 12 different classes.
Okay.
Okay. Level 1, someone who's never rode before. Again, level 2 is the weekend warrior, but that's our core training. So we kind of go in a couple of different areas. One, once they've got that body position that they've demonstrated, now we know when we take them to a level 3, we know what we're working with. We know what they can do and what they can't do.
They've got that foundation.
They've got the foundation down. If we're going to motocross, well, then we've got some key foundations of motocross, so that we know how to take them to the next level. Or if we're going to go to adventure bike riding, we get guys from Microsoft that'll call us and they'll say, "I just bought this $20,000 motorcycle. Teach me how to ride it." Well, the first thing we do is take them off that, put them on a dirt bike. Right? We have women classes. It's about 65% of our business is women classes. Kid day camps. We train the Special Forces unit up at Air Force McChord. We get about 25 to 30 Special Forces soldiers that come and see us for training.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We do learn to slide classes for street riders. We mentioned the continuing education for street riders, and then kids' birthdays and kids' day camps, things like that.
Okay.
Military and law enforcement is a big one for us too.
What made you guys come up with this idea? Where'd this come from?
7 years ago, it wasn't even on our mind.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't even on our mind. Whitney and I got approached by another training school that invited us down to Southern California and went through Gary LaPlante's training.
Instructor training.
Yep. He wanted to franchise and start getting his curriculum out there a little bit more. We went down there with several other riders, and after a week of very strenuous, very tough training that he put us through, we were the only two to make it out. We went down there with the attitude, what's this old guy really going to teach us?
We've been riding for how many years? 20 and 30 years?
Yep.
Each, easily, probably 25 years at that time.
Yeah.
And we're like, we think we know how to ride. What are we going to learn?
Yep. And we were very humbled to realize that there are ways to improve riding. And so the lessons we took out of that were, don't ever think you know it all, because there's always something new you can learn. And that was a really important lesson for myself and for Whitney.
For sure.
And we apply that in everyday life. The students learn from us, and we learn from students. There's many different personalities out there.
Yes.
And you have to be able to connect and transfer your teaching ability when you have 10 students with 10 different personalities.
Not only different personalities, but different ways those students learn. Some
Yes.
can learn by listening to us say it once. Others need to watch us do it, watch the demonstration. Others still further need to do it themselves. And even oftentimes we'll get people that will be, I'm doing it, aren't I? I'm like, no, you're not even close. You need to get forward on the seat, get your elbow. There's so many tweaks that we can be making just watching them ride. And oftentimes the student thinks they're doing it, but they're really not.
Which comes into the new software that we've been developing. Gary Strode, professional rider in the past, a teacher of many of the Pacific Northwest Suns that have made it to the top ranks. He had an idea about video analyzation. And so we've been working on it for the last 5 years, and we feel that it's really going to change the way people are trained, because we're all visual learners, right? And sometimes we think we're doing something until you show us that we're not doing it. And that video,
so you'd get video of the people that are actually in the course?
Correct.
So then they can... okay.
And it's broke down at a very small pace, frame by frame, so you can get even the slightest detail that the human eye is going to miss.
Yeah, totally. Well, coming from my other love is MMA.
Yeah.
Oh, they got that. They do that all the time. I mean, they're like, okay, GoPro session. Like, see, you didn't do that. You didn't do that.
There's a lot of sports do it. Football, golf, MMA. There's so many that just break it down.
Because you can't see outside yourself. Oh.
Sorry.
Intern Joe, I need to get you like a little stick.
Yeah.
Whack. Yeah, a lot of sports do that because you can't look outside yourself. And I think that's one of the hardest things. I mean, actually goes for everything in life. It's very hard to look from the outside in and what you're doing. You may think you're doing something, you're really not. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yep.
it's hard to really see. You know what I mean?
Video is powerful.
Yeah, no, video. I like that. No, video is very powerful because
We think it's going to advance the training.
I like that.
The last 5 years, the advancement that we have seen from some of our riders, Elliot Cooper, to be for one of the examples, is trying to teach a new rider to gain the correct technique. It takes roughly about 1 to 2 years. And Elliot displayed so much ambition and obsession about wanting to learn. All he wanted to do was, I want to ride like Eli Tomac. Right.
And when he came to us, he had never ridden.
He had never
maybe
ridden
in the
before.
yard once or twice, but he did not know how to ride
so
when he
new.
came to us.
New.
Okay.
5 months later, after the video analyzation and private lessons that we did for 5 months, you would be looking at him like he'd been riding for 2-3 years. The way he gets into his position, his hand position, where he's putting his foot, his weight on the outside peg. So it's very rewarding as an instructor to see your student advance and the smile they get on their face because of what they're learning. It's really rewarding.
So now, where do you guys have these? I mean, do you travel around a bit? Do you stay mostly around? You use like Monroe-ish area, right? Or
Yeah,
north
so
of here, like anything
Yes.
past Longview
It's
is
in the
just
Rocky
the north
region.
people,
Right.
you know. And
So we are, we always say we're conveniently located about 45 minutes north of Seattle. But what we've done
convenient, okay. Yeah.
yeah, even though we've conveniently drove 3 or 4 hours to come down this way.
It's a different crowd here. In my mind, like Washington, it's split up in 3 regions. We have the Southern Riders, which is basically we're Portland, you know, the Southern group, the Northern group, which is Seattle, and the weird people that are way off east in the desert.
Right.
You know, they're
Eastern
the
Washington.
smallest group, and like they got Spokane, Horn, the track, the Umatilla track. Help me here, Joe. We're supposed to go there. The bike pit, you know, but they're kind of the odd ones that live out in the
Is that
desert.
in Soap Lake?
Umatilla.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, technically, Pilot Rock.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
We're supposed to go there this year. I love the idea behind the track. It's like a community track. It's free to practice on. Everyone just pitches in to help maintain it. Brings out a dozer on a certain day and stuff. You only pay on race day.
Nice.
And I think it's on city property. And like, I love that. It's grassroots, and everyone keeps it going. That is badass to me.
That is awesome.
So, but yeah, they're the odd ones over there. They're gonna hate me. I'm gonna get comments and messages after this. There's a huge northern group and a huge southern group. You've now officially entered southern territory.
Awesome.
But like, there's people who have no idea about some of the riders up there, and likewise, people up there will come and they're like, "Who's this guy? Who's that pro?" And you're like, we don't mix that much. Riverdale is a good like middle spot,
ground.
Mm-hmm.
but it's almost like totally different sectors. Which I couldn't tell you which one's better. There's been some fast boys come from both ends.
Sure.
you
Oh,
know.
of course.
But it's like we don't mix as much. There's not much in the middle either. I mean, Moto West and Riverdale, maybe?
Yeah.
That's it? There's not a lot in the middle. Just a bunch up north, bunch down south.
Strataline.
What about the Ridge?
And the
Where is
Ridge.
that? Is that?
I
is that
consider
still
that north.
Okay.
I mean, it's
That
on
is-
the
that
lower
is up
north. But it takes me a few hours to get there.
Gotcha.
Or when my van blows up, it takes me all day. That my last
Been
trip.
there.
Last trip to the Ridge, one of the rods decided to come up, take a peek out the bottom of the engine. Sat on the side of the freeway for a few hours.
Ouch.
That was a good time. But
Hopefully on the way home, not on the way there.
thankfully on the way home. However, I had just announced 2 days out in 100-degree weather and raced, and I got heat stroke. And I was puking and like about ready to pass out.
Yeah, you were
and,
ready to
like,
be
laying
home.
on the ground covered in cold blankets. And then finally like, okay, I got enough energy to leave, but I'm not in a good mood.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I make it about 40 minutes into the trip, and that happens. Like, well, guess we're sitting in the sun again.
Oh man.
Sorry, Chris. Chris is probably watching from the Ridge, and he's like, yeah, he remembers that. But anyways, conveniently located, aka not convenient for me, but you are up in Seattle, above Seattle. And so is that where most of the classes happen?
So yeah, normally we call it our kind of our corporate spot or our private spot in Marysville. We have contracts with Arlington Airport, with Bellingham, Hannigan Speedway. I just spoke with Dan just this last winter about coming down and doing some courses down here at Riverdale. And then Ray over at Horn Rapids. We were working with him. Just got approved with him to go over and do some training over there. And then also Spokane with Airway Heights. We train over there. We've got about eight facilities that we contract with throughout the Pacific Northwest. So we have some down in Oregon that we work around. But that's been mostly some of the fairgrounds. We are working towards some of the motocross classes down in that area. And then over in Idaho and into Montana as well. We own the Pacific Northwest rights to the Dirt First curriculum here in the Pacific Northwest. So
Montana.
Yeah.
That's the Wild West out there, man. They do things different out in Montana. I'm telling you, they do motocross just a little bit different than we do out there.
Okay.
They only have about 5 tracks, really main tracks out there. But I love Montana. Actually, I visit there all the time. But they do things different out there. I actually sponsor a rider from there, Jaron Forney.
Nice.
I don't know if you've been to many of their tracks, but
I've only been to. I can't remember the name of it, but it was on this southeast side of the state.
Okay.
I just don't remember the name
Expand on how they do it differently over there.
I don't want to pick on people, but Montana is its own breed. Okay, Montana,
Sure.
Beautiful. Absolutely love to visit that place. Missoula is super interesting. All sorts of stuff to do. Go to Whitefish, and it's like you're entering God's country, and then suddenly there's a big town. You're like in the middle of nowhere and going through like real reservations, not like the ones around here, like real reservations, and suddenly, boom, this really cool town. I love visiting. I love Montana, but the people there are a little more standoffish. And then the tracks, man, they got some funky. It's like, for one, it's not the main thing of Montana. Motocross is not really big in Montana. And they have their own rule sets that are really unique, including I really want to go to a race there sometime and find out the right promoter so I know I'm ready for this and go in both guns blazing, because they make you go pro. If you're in a class for 2 years, you have to bump up.
Oh, interesting.
I guess that's just a standard there. And I've had multiple Montana riders back me up. Like, that's just how it is. Like, what about the guy who only does like a few C-class races a year? After 2 years, you're bumping him intermediate? Like, yeah, in 2 years as an intermediate, you go pro.
Whoa.
You can't actually force an amateur to go pro, though.
No.
They're like, in Montana, you do. Like, okay, I'm bringing some rule books with me. Where's this race? And like, all the promoters do that. Like,
Wow.
I was just blown away by that. They do.
I can understand why they do that, though. To get stop the sandbaggers from, not the guys that have only done it 1 or 2 times a year. I get that. But
I understand sandbagging and cherry picking is a real issue. However, on the other hand, there's some people who should never move out of the C class.
I was just going to say it should be results based, not time based.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some stuff like Nick Schmidt. He's probably not watching, so I can say this. He was way back in the day out at Woodland. He was going to get ready to go race the C class at Loretta Lynn's. He's an AMA Supercross pro and everything now. Well, back in the day, he was racing the C class, going to Loretta's and stuff. So from the second gate drop, caught up all the way to the leader of the pro class, and went in for the block pass of the day to take the lead away from, like, I think it was Trevor Brooks, and got the win in the pro class. Both motos. He went to Washougal, and he lapped up to 4th place in the C class.
Oh, my goodness.
And we're all like, oh, man. It was bad enough. I remember Barnes, put down the microphone. I got to talk to this kid. And, so, there's a lot of that going. But, however, there's a lot of weekend warrior guys who don't, that's not their main focus, not their second, third, fourth, fifth thing. They do it for fun here and there. They're not putting in enough effort to progress up.
Sure.
And I think that's fine. You know what I mean? I don't think a year thing should determine that. Because in 2 years, what if you only have 6 hours of ride time? However, someone else may put in 200.
Totally agree.
Skill is skill. Skill is
Absolutely.
skill. The year thing shouldn't matter. So when I heard that was the one that really stood out to me. There's a few other things, like apparently you have to have an ambulance, which I'm not totally against, but I understand that makes it pretty expensive. As a promoter, I can tell you that's expensive. But okay, interesting.
That's pretty standard.
Yeah.
Up north. Yeah.
Yep.
and just a few things, and some of the age class things were unique. It seems like it's just very much their own thing with their own rule books. You know what I mean? So I'd like to maybe explore a couple more of the races.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Montana's its own thing. Like it's for someone, especially if you live close to a city and go to Montana, they do things a little differently. But I love going and visiting, honestly.
It is beautiful over there.
Absolutely beautiful. There's so much cool stuff to go see, hunting, fishing, if you're into that. They got breweries every quarter block. I mean, if you want craft beer or craft vodka or all this, I mean, they got them everywhere. Apparently they like to drink out there.
A little bit.
A little bit. It's just unique. And I think it's why I like it, because it's so different than from where I am.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
But
Different is good. You know, it steps you out of your element a little bit and allows you to, you know, I think in Montana that, you know, people are a little standoffish a little bit from what I experienced.
Well, cowboys.
Cowboys.
The real cowboys.
Exactly.
Not these hicks that we got. No, they're actually cowboys.
Right.
So, yeah, I like to visit, though. It's a fun place.
It is.
So you guys do some stuff out there. Idaho. You said Idaho?
Idaho, yep. They have the STAR training organization out there for their endorsement training. So we're getting involved with them that are helping us promote in the areas because they are true advocates of dirt riding and what it can do for street riders. So
now, are these typically 1 day, 2 day courses? Like, how is this put together? Because, man, there's a wide variety of camps, courses, and stuff. Everything from 3-hour burner courses to 1 days, 2 days. I think Landon Curry has done 3-day camps. Has he done, Joe? Didn't he used to do like 3-day camps? So. My attention span would not work for that. But how do you guys?
You definitely need to cater to that attention span sometimes too.
Yeah. It's depends on age. It depends on class.
Which curriculum?
Which curriculum we're going to be using that day. Like for instance, our bread and butter classes usually tend to be our level 2 for a day class, 6 hours, and we cover quite a bit that a rider needs to have essentially when they're out riding off-road. That's helping them gain some success and not be afraid of the machine.
Gotcha.
Our first goal is to make sure that the person is comfortable and confident on the machine. And if we feel that if we gain that comfort or they're confident on the machine, that they're going to be able to feel that much, they're going to trust what we're asking them to do as we progress through the exercises throughout the day.
So you guys work on a lot of, from what it sounds like, body position, how to react to how the bike will react. And I mean, so you really get a wide variety. I mean, you get some military guys, and it's not like most training clinics or these classes going on are really geared towards racers.
Yes.
Like just racers. We'll take you from this level to this level.
Yep.
But you guys work with a little bit of everything from the sounds of it.
Yes.
Okay.
When we deal with a racer, the hard thing with racers that we find is they just want to go. And we want to slow them down because we want to see where their body position's at first. One of our first sayings of the day is, we need to get you to understand that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. If you can do these exercises at a slow pace, you're going to create muscle memory. And you got to be able to create that muscle memory, not always just using the throttle to get you out of trouble.
Yeah.
The difference usually between, the guy that's doing the weekend warrior or a professional rider is the professional rider is willing to put in that work.
Makes sense. So you work with a wide variety.
Yes.
And so do you have like, you said you have 12 different courses too. Man, that's boggling my mind. I wasn't ready for all this. 12 different courses for all this. So do you do any on-road stuff, or is it just dirt?
It's just dirt.
Okay.
Yep. We use in all aspects of dirt bikes, trials bikes, adventure bikes, dual sports, and we tailor it to what specifically the customer's need is.
Now, outside of you guys, do you bring in many other like instructors or outside people, maybe, like ex-pro racers, current pro racers, anything like that to your classes?
Yeah, we've gotten the privilege to work with Cody Webb for 3 years now.
He knows how to ride a bike.
He knows how to ride a bike a little bit.
A little bit. I'd say a little bit.
So he'll usually come to Everett, hit up the enduro cross, and then the very next day we'll usually have 25 to 30 riders that come out to our facility and just have an incredible day. Cody has actually worked with Gary LaPlante down in Temecula area. So he already was an advocate of the curriculum and the things that we do. So being able to come up here, he knew what he was kind of working with. That led into some involvement with Jeff Aaron, who's a 10 times trial champion that does classes down in the Temecula area.
Yep, he knows how to ride too.
He knows how to ride too. Yep. And then he's made himself available to come up here when we have some classes when he can. But he's constantly riding for Red Bull, doing trials, shows around the nation, and I think into some events that go into Canada. So it's kind of hard to get him. Recently, we got a phone call about 2 months ago. Steve Lamson, who was a multi-125 champion and a Motocross Donations champion with Jeff Emick and Jeremy McGrath, called us, had heard about our program, wanted a little bit more information, and after 45 minutes said, I want to partner with you guys, which was pretty humbling. The hero that you've grown up watching is contacting you to be involved in what you're doing. I'm shocked.
And why is he not on the show? I have so many questions about how it was racing in 1995. Because that was like when I really started getting into it. Granted, I was pretty young. Mm-hmm. I remember one of the custom painted helmets he had that I kept a picture of. And I just want to know how it was like. What were the parties like too? Because honestly,
that should be an upcoming show. We need to arrange this.
I've had some bangers on here that are a lot of fun. I really want to get Lance Smale on.
Yep.
And whenever
KTM
I see him
rider.
log on, I'm like, Lance, when are you coming on? I've had Jason McCormick on here a couple times,
Nice.
which he was my hero because I as a kid I have the toy. I have the Jason McCormick toy.
That's awesome.
Action figure.
And
Yeah,
now
from Hot Wheel.
yeah, and now
Yep.
we're buddies. He does my suspension. He lives just down the road, and it was cool to have him on.
Small world. Nice.
But I cannot get Ryan Huffman on. We're still working on that one.
Okay.
He's been.
said something to you on Thursday.
I did talk to him Thursday, and I don't want to get everyone's hopes up, but he said he might actually show up soon. However, see, we haven't. Joe, when was the last time we really had? Sorry, I need to drink more water. When was the last time we've really had conflict
On the show.
on the show? Yes, we need some conflict. I want Jason McCormick and Ryan Huffman on the show,
Ooh.
and I want to know.
You and Reese probably 2 months ago.
Yeah, whenever I talk flat Earth or something, just to bug Reese. I literally do it just to bug Reese, but because Reese is my buddy, so I can give him a hard time. I always make fun of Hondas. My main two bikes right now are Hondas. I own Hondas. My vintage bike that I got out there is a Honda. My 450 is a Honda. However, I will make Honda jokes all day, and it just grinds his gears. So, other than that, we haven't had any real conflict. But I think if we get McCormick and Huffman in the same room, which they're buddies, but they spent their entire life racing against each other.
yeah.
I mean, from 60s up,
Yep.
they were each other's closest competition.
Yeah.
So I know I can dig at something. I'll find something to get them going.
Sure.
Just for a little fun, As long as we all stay friends at the end of the night, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think just bring up enough stories, and I really want to know about just how it was racing in the mid 90s at the top level, because we got a lot of straight and narrow guys now racing, motocross
I would
and
agree with
supercross.
that.
It was different in the 90s.
Oh, absolutely.
It was different.
There was a lot more partying and stuff going on.
There
in the
was a
90s.
lot more partying. I've heard enough stories, and I know they're not giving me any of the good ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keeping it close to the vest.
It kind
Yeah.
of seemed where that was the foundation of what raised the bar to today's freestyle motocross and motocross, supercross in its entirety. Having Jeff Emick and Jeremy McGrath starting that free riding era, to where it just watching its growth and seeing it is just amazing to where freestyle motocross is today.
Well, and what's progressed it from, well, especially freestyle motocross till now, was we started to get athletes.
Yes.
I was just going to say, physical fitness, that bar has been raised so high.
Yeah, you couldn't just go party every night, hop on your bike, and let your natural talent just flow.
Exactly.
Now you got a few guys with natural talent who are eating clean and are training properly. They have trainers, and guess what? They're going to beat you because they're doing everything right. And I think that's really what progressed freestyle moto and definitely racing. I mean, I don't think the training back in like 94, 96 was really the same as what what we have like Marvin doing today.
Sure.
It's a little different, but I still want to hear the stories. I want to know what it was like,
Sure. Absolutely.
In the 80s, there's another one. I want Chuck and Ron's son on. Both. I want them both here. That's going to be really hard, but that would be fun. Talk about what it was like. I don't know if you know either of them.
So, isn't there a jump at Washougal?
There was until they dozered it, right? It's gone
Did
now.
they take it out?
Yeah, it's gone now. It was a Chuck
Chuck
Son
Son
jump.
Yep. So I met him.
They built it up. I saw it on Instagram.
Oh, yeah, they made track changes this past week. I haven't seen it yet, though.
First time I met Chuck Son, it was at a dual sport ride in Washington, and I actually didn't know who he was, and it was like, "Oh, Chuck Son's here! Chuck Son's here!" And it was really cool, an honor to be at the same event.
Yeah.
Cool guy.
Chuck's a cool cat.
Very humbled and wants to get
Absolutely.
involved. That whole brotherhood of the sport, he's a complete
Advocate. Yep.
of it, yeah.
And then there was Ron, his brother, that a lot of people now forget about. But I think Ron just more wanted to have fun. I don't want to speak for him, but I don't know if maybe the dedication wasn't quite the same. But man, when he wanted to go fast, I mean, I ran into him at Washougal a few years back. He was a bigger boy. I don't know if he could really zip his pants up, but all I know is this random big boy. Actually, I think he was riding a husky too. Threw a whip up Horsepower Hill passing me. I'm like, what was that?
What just
it's
happened?
a 40-some-year-old man riding a borrowed bike or something, just throwing it out sideways. Like, that's impressive.
Right.
Okay, that is impressive. And he was the nicest cat, man. He worked at KT McGresham for years as a counter guy. The nicest dude, and a lot of people wouldn't have really guessed that. That guy was true national caliber champion speed. Because every once in a while he got tired of his brother getting the attention. He would beat him. Ron was one of those guys. I think he's just like, I consider Ryan Huffman the same. Just all the natural talent in the world that if they want to, on a given day, they'll just fully tap into it.
Are they based in Washington or California?
I think Ron kind of bounces back and forth. I'm sorry, Chuck. I believe Chuck bounces back and forth. Ron, I believe, is still up here.
Okay.
I gotta see if I still have his phone number. Someone gave me his phone number, but I honestly haven't talked to him in years. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Again, maybe bring up a little rivalry.
Yeah.
Let's get a little something going. I haven't found anything between you guys yet, but give me a few more minutes, maybe for the after show. I can dig at something. You guys have known each other how long?
We met about the same time that the company was trying to bring on the dirt portion of their street curriculum. And so that's the first time I met Whitney, was about 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Okay, so I got about 5-6 years of stuff I can dig within. Okay.
Perfect.
I'll keep working on it, okay? I'll keep evaluating, and I'll maybe find a little something. So going into 2019, you guys got anything fun going on?
Oh man.
Deep breaths. Like,
Yeah. Well, we've been a lot more race series are starting to give us a call and ask us what we're about. I know Ted Duvall's series had contacted us about coming out to his series and doing some training for some of their kids. I know that I do a lot of the Thursday night Hannigan stuff just because it's close to Everett and I don't have to drive and it's an easy drive for me. So I do those. I do go over to some of the events over in Spokane at Airway Heights. And then we do some training that we do that's over in the Moses Lake area because we can get some sand training over there. But as far as fun, just going out and riding, we kind of gave that up.
I would agree with
gave
that.
it up.
It's hard to fit in the fun days, but going down to Ann's a couple of weeks ago and entering the trial, that was kind of a fun day
It
for
was.
us.
But
That
we were
sounds
still
fun.
working. We were still working.
Yeah, we're still
unfortunately.
working, but it was, it was competitive, but we weren't chasing a series at all. It's just like one trials event. And I rode both days. Jason rode the second day. And you're looking for some dirt or some friction. Jason ended up beating me by a couple points. And I had been riding trials for a year. And this was like his first event. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was pretty. And it was by one place too.
Yeah, one position.
One
Yep.
position.
Oh.
So it's interesting though. It's very technical, and the way they score,
It's like golf.
yeah, it kind of is. You've got to do 3 rounds. You go through these different obstacles, and it's amazing on how much the different terrains teach you something through every course.
Each section. So there's 10 sections on a lap, and you go around the lap 3 times. So you're doing each section 3 times.
But then you get back on your moto bike, and you're like, wow, you feel something a little bit different. You raise your elbow up a little bit more. You're weighting that outside peg a little bit differently, and it changes. So our discussion about getting on a trials bike and experiencing that to better your actual dirt riding experience we're 100% believers with that.
Yeah, I think it's wise to cross train with a few other similar sports. Definitely, if you're a motocross guy, which is my main world, a little off-road, a little trials would do world of difference.
Mountain biking too.
Mountain biking.
Yeah, that's a real good cross-training activity.
Actually, even a little bit of BMX racing. Learn what it's like to have
Oh,
no suspension. Quit
jeez.
relying on your suspension.
Yep.
Quit coming up short every time. Go ride with something with no suspension.
0. Yep.
Totally.
Get
Learn
yourself-
the pump.
Get
Yep.
yourself a
Learn
dirt
the pump.
jumper.
Yeah.
Stop seat bouncing everything.
Exactly. Learn the flow. You have to flow. As I say that, I had one of my worst races in my life, PIR, a little over a week ago. No flow. I actually had to pull off because I was like, you're going to die. I did the worst thing possible. Don't ride for months. Sign up for the intermediate class and hole shot. So then I got all these kids with me, like, well, I got to stay in the lead. Oh, nope, that didn't last. Oh, I'm off the track. Oh, someone roosted me. I got to rock my goggles. Oh, I'm still going. Oh, I cased that. Oh, I forgot that was a triple. And I just pulled off. Okay, you know what? Stop.
Deep breath.
You're going to die in a hurry.
Oh man, I can relate to this pretty well. I had a little bit better experience with it. So I had never, up until last year, I'd never won like a quote unquote pro race. Last year when I was up at Hannigan, one of my sorry about the table. One of my students' mothers brings over another moto mom and says, "Hey, she's suggesting that my son be trained by you guys. So I want to just ask you some questions." And the first question was, "How many championships do you have?"
Oh.
And I basically said, "None. I don't." But then again, Pete Carroll's never taken a snap on the football field. It's not necessarily about how many championships. Cody Webb will tell you, "I'm one of the best endurocross riders in the world, but I can't teach you how to be one." So sometimes, in some cases, some of the top riders, they can do it, but trying to duplicate it is a different story. It's very difficult to be able to communicate that message. So she says, "Okay, I want to see you ride. Go out and race." And I'm like, "Ma'am, I haven't lined up at the gate since 2011. So, and here we are in 2018. And she says, "Well, I'll go out and ride the practice. Would that suffice? Is that acceptable to you?" And she goes, "No, you have a different response when you're actually in the moment." And I'm like, "Okay."
Wow, she's really getting in it with
She
you,
was.
man.
She was. So, and rightfully so. There are some instructors that shouldn't be instructing.
Well, there are a lot of instructors who are pro riders who shouldn't be instructing.
Hey, I
Point taken.
would
You
agree with
nailed
that.
it there because there are some people who are excellent trainers. Once again, we're going to jump into MMA real quick.
Yeah.
There are some amazing trainers with not the best pro record. So they retired. They studied the sport, and now they're teaching people in a completely different way than they fought. But they're some of the best guys because they study. They study, they learn the techniques. Some of the best boxing coaches don't have a great boxing record. Some of the best MMA coaches don't have a great MMA record. They've obviously done it. They're not just Joe Blow jumping in from the outside and whatever. Oh, motocross is cool, I'll train. They've done it, but they just got obsessed with it, learned all the different fundamentals, worked their way through, and developed systems and ways to do it. So I don't think you need to be a super fast rider to be a instructor. And there's a lot of people, I'm sorry guys, there's some fast pro riders who should not be teaching people, who have no idea what they're saying when they tell people. And I've heard the most mind-blowing things. I'm not saying I'm the best at technique in the world at all. At all. However, I've heard some stuff that's like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. And then vice versa. I've heard some people that have done a good job that were just mediocre racers who decided to turn into a coach, and they did a really good job because they really put in the time. I think it's just whatever you put your time into.
Yep.
So I think that nailed it.
We had a good mentorship team. Gary LaPlante, who is the author of this particular book, How to Ride Off-Road Motorcycles. He's taken 40 years of his experience through competition. After his competition years, he got a chance to work with Honda, Yamaha, and Kawasaki as their R&D riders for many, many years. And then about 18 years ago, he decided, well, I don't want to create motorcycles anymore. I want to create a curriculum that helps people advance their skills. And today that's known as Moto Ventures or Dirt First by Moto Ventures. Along with that, the mentorship of the motocross, which is Gary Strode. I didn't have myself or Whitney did not have that racing experience. So again, the studying, the mentorship, the team atmosphere is what we felt was very important, because again, it comes back to that personality of that different rider. And some people connect with Gary, some people connect with Whitney, some people connect better with me. And we try to very quickly, when we're on site with students, get those students to the correct instructor that they're going to get the best result from and go from there. In the case of being up at Hannigan, the only thing that mother was going to take is watching me race. So after, being off, not lining up at the gate for 8 years, I lined up in the plus 40 pro class. Well, I surprised myself when I finished second after not lining up in that for that amount of time.
Can I take a wild guess who beat you?
I don't even remember who beat me.
Was it Scott Steffi?
No, it wasn't Scott Steffi.
Okay. He's still surprising me. He can twist grip when he wants to.
Well, yes. Actually, Scott Steffi was one of my instructors when I was really young. He worked for Everett Suzuki and Kawasaki back in the day when Travis Gage was starting the beginner class. And we kind of were going through those stages with Scott at, I believe it was Travis's Gage cousin's Matt's home up in Lake Stevens.
Okay.
So I did get a chance to work with Scott a little bit. I've always had a lot of respect for Scott and Ryder Steffi. He's a good kid and has always been very positive in the industry as well.
Yeah, Scott's been around a while. I was actually just talking to him recently about courses and clinics and stuff, because I do. Joe's helped me out with this. We actually put on a couple a year free riding clinics.
Nice. For
newer riders. It's for motocross, and we kind of say up to a slow junior. But why we do it for free is because, so my main thing, I'm a race promoter. I put on events.
Yep.
I analyze and overanalyze the industry of motocross racing and why are we losing riders here? How do we get more? And I believe it's kind of hard for people to get into it. And
there's a barrier, and they're intimidated.
And
so if you can help
to
facilitate
get on a bike,
yeah.
But there's a lot of people who own bikes who have never lined up to a starting line, and I'm like, how do I break that barrier? It's like, what if we bring in some people, make it very welcoming to them, very easy for them, aka free.
That's great.
To come out, and it's an all-day course. We do kids in the morning, 4 hours, and then 4 hour short break. Joe came out, Joe and Jamie of the UFMX, and they flipped burgers and kind of talked to everyone, gave them water and stuff, and then we did the adults in the afternoon. Thank you again, Joe.
Well done. That's great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And the name ties in perfectly. The University of Motocross, UFMX, and then in the afternoon we did the adults or the big bikes, and just a lot of the basics. Did starts with them, proper positioning on the pegs, and just because I wanted to show them it's not that bad, maybe help them get a little more confidence and get them going. And then if they really loved it, then they could go out and start taking more or try a race. Like actually my main office lady, I met her because she had a little peewee kid. And they heard about this, and they're like, oh, it might be fun. They had no intention of ever racing motocross.
Right.
They came from the off-road world, but they were not going to be racers. But they thought, free course, cool. Well, the kid had so much fun, he talked him into doing a race the next day, which happened to be my race at Riverdale. Mm-hmm. And he went out. He did pretty decent in the Pee-wee, little PW class, and they decided to do the whole series. Then they got him a bigger bike, and they raced the PRO series.
That's great.
That's awesome.
And then now his little sister got a bike, and now they're full-on race parents. And then she started hanging out, helping a few places here and there, giving out trophies, started helping the office. She's now my office manager.
That's awesome.
And it's been like a year and a half, and it's crazy. Like they came out to one of those, and now they're like into it. So I don't do a ton. Honestly, I have very limited time, and I've had a few trainers actually get a little grumpy over the concept because we're not charging. I always tell them, like, well, why don't you go help out? And at the end of the day, hand each one of them a business card, because
That's the next step.
they all know you then.
Yeah.
They're not going to want to do just one. If they truly want to race, they're going to do a few. And, you know, we can only teach you so much in a day.
This is true.
And actually, it's only a 4-hour course. And, you know, when we got up to like 60 some in just one 4-hour course with 3 instructors, like there's only so much we can really do.
Yeah.
Like we're really tapped here, but we can do what we can. And we suggest, definitely go get some more, though. If you're brand new, which there are some people that scared the snot out of me that you know they've never raced, but they wanted to prove to us that they were Ricky Fast. They're the next
Ricky
big
Racer,
thing.
yep.
Oh man, we were practicing flat corners, and I remember this one guy came ripping, and he must have hit 4th gear coming in. Like, dude, oh no, can't wait. He blew 40 feet past the corner sideways, flipped over the bike. Like, just calm down. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to prove to us. Just like you said, go slow to get smooth. And I think that's one of the hardest things, especially guys. Come on, we all got that testosterone. We don't want to be in a group setting and seem like one of the weaker guys.
Right.
So, unfortunately, skill level doesn't really match our testosterone level. We do some dumb stuff. Like guys do dumb stuff, right?
It is funny too, because we talk about this when Cody Webb comes up, and one of the things we say in our opening writers meeting is that Cody's here to help you. He's not here for you to show off for.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Guarantee you're probably not going to really show much. You know, now tell me if this is true. Do you find women more responsive?
Bingo.
I was going to bring that up.
100%.
Yep.
They
listen,
they
and they do
listen.
it right away. They're like a sponge.
Yes, and it's I hate it, guys. I mean, I hate to tell you this, but women kill us 3-1 when it comes to organization and listening skills. Unfortunately, that's true. Fortunately for you ladies, fantastic job. But they're sponges, okay? And they listen, which is why once they start getting confidence and they start trusting what you're saying, you've got them to a point where they'll do anything you ask them to do because they're going to trust that you know what you're talking about at that point.
I found the same thing. They're more willing to listen to what you're saying and go try to figure it out. You know, they'll take all that input because they're trusting you to be the one teaching them, and then like, okay, now how do I adapt? You know, and whereas guys sometimes like, yeah, I got this.
Yeah.
Wide open.
Yeah, it's like at the Desert 100 when we were there. We had a group of 10 students there, and this boyfriend, I think he was about 19, had his girlfriend on a WR250, trying to get her to go. And they're out in an open field, and they come right by the class, and then she's popping the clutch like this, and almost hit me right in front of the class I'm teaching. And finally, I just got off my bike, and I'm like, well, I'm going to let them go for a little bit just to get them, just so, you know, they wouldn't hit one of the other students. So we see that all the time. We've dealt with a couple from the Redmond Police Department where she came out and she turned and looked to her husband, and she goes, okay, you can leave now. Because she you know, so it comes to a point where
She was done with his instruction.
she was done with his instruction.
Ah, gotcha.
So the relationship, and I've experienced myself with my gal Kiana, where I was teaching her, and she had popped the clutch up. And she has an MMA background where she fought MMA for a couple of years over in Europe.
Really?
And yeah,
we're gonna have a fun talk here.
We're going to talk
Okay.
about that.
Okay.
We'll talk about it in a minute. So, but when she popped the bike up for safety reasons, she just threw it. It happened to be thrown at me, but,
was not your way.
but she's like, "Hey, babe, weren't you proud of me? I was safe. I just let that thing go." So it was. We'll talk about that. In a
Okay.
minute.
Okay. Oh yeah, we're gonna have some fun with that. And we still have an after show too.
Perfect.
Checking the time though, we're gonna have to wrap this baby up. We do have an after show here in just a few minutes. But is there anything we missed? Or anything you guys want to get out there that I don't know we didn't really touch on?
You know what? We want to let everybody know. We wanted to let everybody know who we are and what we're doing. And there's a huge opportunity May 18th and 19th for any of you that, or any of the folks out here that want to advance their skills. Steve Lamson, as we've talked about, he's going to be out at Han again with us May 18th and 19th. It's a 2-day training. For those of you that don't know, Steve Lamson trained Cooper Webb back in the days where he won his 2015 and 2016 titles. Who's now the 450 current points leader, and so there's a lot of credibility there. And when Steve called us to be a part of it, we wanted to let people know that that's available for them.
That's right.
How do they find that? How do they sign up?
Thank you. I was just going there.
Perfect.
You're ahead of it.
Perfect. If you'd like to sign up or check out the information, it's at www.dirtbikesafetytraining.com. Just check the calendar, and it'll be right on the May 18th and 19th date.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, we'll wrap this up. Like I said, we're going to have our after show here in just a few minutes. We'll get a little spicy, get Reese on, have a little moto trivia, which I think you guys are going to be taking care of us for today, maybe.
Perfect.
All right. Appreciate you guys coming on. It's been fun.
Thank you,
and,
Justin. It's been
check
fun.
them out. We will be back here in just a few minutes, guys. You have a good evening. And, yeah, be ready in about 15 minutes for what I'm going to do to Reese.